think Wilson will need to be more effective here. And I'm sure he knows that.
He's looking at something to right corner, either a plant or direct red. Plant it is, and lots of moving parts there. As I say, I think he's the kind of player, he is going to go for his shots. He's going to try and enjoy the match and not get too bogged down today. If you haven't seen him play for a while, there's definitely a sort of a change in his plan these days. Anyhow.
One.
Well, we've just got to avoid a bolt colour here. Coming closest to the yellow, but wants to get up and down the table for the next red. That's fine. Yes, he hasn't been troubled in 2 matches. You're right, Phil. He has had a good season, of course. He won the big event in China, the Tian Grand Prix, which was a good one to get under his belt, I think, so soon after the world title. You always wonder how a first-time champion will go in their year, their reign, if you like. And so far, you can say he's doing very well. A little bit different as times go on, isn't it? And players win it again. I think the best first-time world champion for their next season, probably Stephen Hendry. I mean, it's hardly a surprise. He was the best player, but he didn't show any sign of finding it difficult. Judd Trump was the same. He was a prolific winner as champion. Luca Bassell, still in this event, good to see. Less so last year. He didn't have a good season at all.
$11.
Certainly lost a cue ball there. You might end up playing the blue, but it's one of those you just drop it in and you can't really do anything with it. You can't control it. The pot cannot be ignored either.
$16.
Well, he found a nice gap there twice.
17.
Initially to pot the red and then to skim past the brown.
Yeah, I mean, a break of 17 where the cue ball is now under some kind of control for the first time.
$21.
I think past experience will dictate that Kyren Wilson concentrates nicely today.
22.
The last time these two played, it was in the second round of the UK Championship in 2019. Wilson led 5-3 and indeed 4-1 earlier. But in the last 3 frames, he aggregated only 20 points. Fu coming good when it mattered.
Played a good shot there, isn't he? That cue ball is right where he wanted it to be.
28.
Clearly, though, in this
29.
one, oppositional respect is mutual. Who appreciates just how good Wilson is. In all 3 of their previous meetings, Wilson's made a century.
34. $35.
A 36-minute marathon 5th frame on table 2 is over. John Higgins knocked in a short-range pink to middle to take a 3-2 lead over Graham Dott. What a grind that match has been, and in many respects, what a grind this break has been.
39.
Cue ball there, once again disobeying.
That's sort of a mid-range red here, and he's got to get underneath the cue ball to stop it going into the pink and the 2 reds in and around it. He really had to dig down. That's very nicely struck.
40.
So yeah, it's not been an immaculate cue ball during this break, but the break is still alive, more importantly.
Let me check it again, Kyren.
Ian Wagstaff, the referee, just making absolutely sure, measuring a couple of times whether the pink will go on the spot.
46. $47. $53. $54.
Well, close to the point of no return.
$60.
Just a red, basically. That will be taking it down to 59 remaining, and there'll be 61 in front. But the colour and
61.
even another red will absolutely assure the first frame. Frame in which Marco Fu has not really played a part. He went for a double to right corner, which, beg your pardon, a plant. Most of the time you
67.
see those sort of shots And when they go for plants like that, they go in. They didn't threaten the pocket.
68.
Since then, he's been a spectator.
$73.
This is
74.
precisely the kind of start he would have wished for. Not just winning the first frame, dominating. But I don't think dominating with a century.
No, you want to hit the left-hand red there and
80.
free them both. Don't know what he can do here to keep the break going. He'll try something. Good effort. Nice start, though, for Kyren Wilson.
Yes, I'll endorse those comments. Kyren Wilson, the world champion, looking good early on.
To break.
By the Yorkshireman. Ranking points, Neil, not a problem for Kyren Wilson. Could leave this tournament number 2 in the world. He's pretty much guaranteed to be in the entirety of the Players' Series. He's in the Champion of Champions. The world's his oyster.
Yeah, but strangely, you know, they obviously got all those points from the World Championship last year. He absolutely deserves to be where he is. He hadn't had a great season leading into it. Almost 3 times the amount of points at Sheffield to what he'd got before that. But as you say, now that he has won, and also in China, that inaugural event recently, he's in a very handy position.
One.
Players always say about when the points come off, and of course that applies to any big champion when the 2 years are up. But you know, during that time you've had a lot of opportunities without any great pressure to get more points. So there's not really a downside, is there? Especially to be world champion, there's so many positives. And I think Kyren accepts that. I've said it all along, I think he'll be a good champion on and off the table.
Well, speaking fiscally, as they say, your points might come off after 2 years, but they can't take the £500,000 out of your bank account. That remains, well, what you've got left of it.
The other thing they can't do is take your name off the list, because every year at the Crucible you see all the champions there on the wall. That must be a great feeling.
Eight.
Well, here he knows that there's no other spots free, so the black will have to go somewhere below its own spot. Referee Ian Wagstaff, I think, will be putting it below its spot, and I think when he does, there's a very strong chance that the red that's close to the black will go anyway. Kind of know from the way that the red is. Now he's just praying here, as if to say, well, help me somebody. Please, Mr. Referee, be kind. He'll do it absolutely right, and it might be that if the black goes as close to the spot as possible, that he can't get to enough of the red. It's not meant to be touching. That's the other thing. The black has got to be as close to the red without touching. Kyren frowning as if he's not sure about all that, but the ball goes where it goes.
Yeah, sure.
He's
To the left, okay. Yep.
being asked to respot it, which I suppose you can ask for that once. You can't go around asking all day and if it respots, and until it does mean that the red goes.
It's just rocking onto the red, Kyren, that's the problem.
We had this at the World Championship, didn't we, when there was a borderline call with the black going back on its spot, and sometimes the ball tends to rock into a small indentation.
Well, that actually goes back to the point that was made earlier about that Judd made, and Stephen and Ken in the studio agreed with it. Maybe an earlier recover of the cloth, because the indentation on the black spot or any spot is because of the amount of times the ball's put back on there. Whereas a brand new cloth, you don't get those. So maybe they are being
15.
overused, these tables. A lot of matches to play, great snooker. Because if you go into your local CRU club or whatever you want to call it, they probably get recovered about every 5 years, whether they need it or not.
I've noticed that with Wilson in his matches here so far, on that kind of shot, far more often than not he's been overcutting the ball.
One.
If he gets on a run here, Marco, you'll see the point I was making earlier about how he nips around the table, and I think he had a little spell mid-career, and he's always been a terrific player, where he overthought shots, and I think then he's taken some kind of pledge since then. He's not going to allow too much. Of course, you've got to look where the balls go, but when he's down on the shot, he just points cue, and that's it. He's on to the next shot very swiftly. Could have worked out better, that.
6. Seven.
He's made over 500 centuries, Fu. 5 of which have been 147s.
Twelve.
The keeper just ran and ran to the point where he can't even get to that shot with the rest he was looking at. Hang on, he's got it out again. Put it away once, this rest. Yeah, no pot though, just a containing shot.
Marco Fu, 12.
Well, that was a total faux pas. He's been lucky where the cue balls come to rest, actually.
1.
Very nice. Couldn't do anything with the cue ball, but just pot it and pot the red and be on the colour to middle.
Neil, we've just had word that Paul Collier, who was a great referee, now a very well-respected tournament director,
7.
he's passed on the news that they are going to recover tables 1 and 2 overnight. And that will come as a real boost for all of the quarter-finalists.
8.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken and heard a lot about the conditions. It gets a bit tiresome, but what I will say is that, yeah, the weather on the first day here was absolutely as bad as you'll ever see. It just rained about 12 hours non-stop. And that does not help the tables. The dampness gets in, more bad weather forecast. And all of these things are contributing
14.
factors that are beyond control of the table fitters, quite honestly.
15.
Kyren going about his business in the way that he does, not always spectacular. Very straight cueing, that's his
21.
trademark, really. Grooved cue action that he's worked so hard since he's a
22.
very young junior player to get where he is now. He could play to pot the red right corner and nudge the other red below it to the
28.
left. Which could take the black towards the left corner. Not
29.
bad. Like to have been straighter. Now he's just coming away from the reds a tiny bit in potting this black.
That shot into a semi-blind pocket is always a little tricky.
36.
I think he negotiated that one really well, especially when it came to control of the cue ball.
$37.
The two most recent world champions are both playing right now, and
43.
Luca Brissell has taken a 2-1 lead over Liam Davis on table 3.
$44. Kyren Wilson.
What a shocking
44.
miss, Neil.
Yeah, I mean, it came as a big shock. I was looking at the cue ball. So often that's what you might do as a player, you know. He might have had his mind on where he wanted that cue ball to be for his next thread, and you forget the supposedly easy part. But Marco, as you can see, has not punished him.
Slide
So
in.
a second bite at the cherry. Red-black is all he needs. So that miss is probably just forgotten about now on the black.
And so far, this contest is following the pattern of Wilson's previous two here, encountering no resistance.
Black ball. 8. Kyren Wilson, 8. And frame.
Very surprised, needing only one snooker, Marco Fu decided to concede. Kyren Wilson doubles his advantage to 2-0. Snooker on the green. Can he do the same on this particular occasion? As for Marco Fu, well, quite simply, has to get his act together. The Kyren Wilson cylinders are not simultaneously firing. And yet in this tournament now he's played 11 frames and won 10 of them.
Pretty good safety shot for Marco. He's blocked off the right side of the table as we look at it, which means there's a bit of congestion down the left side, which makes it difficult to play a safety shot back to bulk. Not impossible, but the other alternative, of course, he can pot this red. Difficult. Somehow managed to hit the wrong side of it.
Since he got back on the circuit, Marco Fu's had some decent results, but being thrust back out there under the spotlight, so far, not looking like his old self at all.
One. Kyren Wilson,
Always
1.
top jaw never really came into the shot as if he was going to get it.
Thank you. 1.
Most of Fu's heroics came a while ago. But one of his greatest moments happened just 2 years back. Making a 147 in the deciding frame of his Hong Kong Masters semi-final against John Higgins, with literally thousands watching at the Hong Kong Coliseum. This, so far, a far cry from that.
He's never really got going, has he? Chances have not been that many of them, and also they've been slightly awkward. Given Kyren Wilson some nice chances here, continuing to do so now. There's a bit of a gap between the players on the frames now. Wilson again here. Just doing roughly what he has to do. I don't think either player have had complete control over the cue ball, though.
Seven. $12. $13.
He's got 3 reds that pot to the right corner when this red is moved out of the way. So he could get onto a lower value colour and play down across on the far side with the cue ball. Like you see, there's the 3 reds.
19.
By the way, we're not neglecting our promise to keep you informed
24.
about Higgins' dot. They battle on. Dotty still needing a snooker with 4 colours left now.
$25.
Sure.
Kind of player, Kyren Wilson, he's more content than others to not play on the black and get it back in the frame. He feels he can win the frame a good chance with low value colours. If he can get on the black, all well and good, but feels, I think, that he can just keep potting balls. Position is not everything to him. Tight position. Anyway, he's got the opportunity on that last shot to get on it.
29. Kyren Wilson,
I'm not saying
29.
that shot would have gone on any table, but the far jaws this week have been unforgiving. That was wide, though.
And into the middle pockets at that sort of speed, the accuracy is very essential. And he could have rolled it in. I think it might have just gone in, but he really did belt it. It's not been happening for him this afternoon at all. Beautiful. That's a lovely bit of cueing. It didn't look a great deal, but it was so softly played. He got the reaction, the backspin on the cue ball to stop it dead for the pink.
Seven. 8.
Well, to use an old phrase, Neil, that was bandied about in snooker for a while, there's an aura of inevitability about this.
Yeah,
40.
another frame looks to be going the way of the world champion. I suppose in a
15.
best of 7 at 3-0, if it becomes 3-0, you know, you've always got a chance of an hour's good play yourself and able to turn the whole thing around. So we'll bear that in mind.
$21.
But the pot success rate for Marco Fu makes very bleak reading. We always work on a 90% benchmark. He's down at 55.
$22.
Potting the black meant it was frame ball. Fu needs a
29.
snooker. If this red goes in, there's no way he will stand up. He'll just nod to the referee whenever Wilson misses.
30.
Yeah, he seems to be coasting at the moment, which in a best of 7 is not easy to do, you know. You have to start well. Missed a couple, but he's going about his business. It's so far a bit like the other 2 matches, as Bill was saying, you know. They've not been spectacular, but they've been pretty
43.
good wins. And this is the case again here. Now, did he play the top tap or not? I think he may have done. 44. Drilled in the pink there.
50. Kyren Wilson 50.
Good breaks of 80, 44 and latterly 50. Kyren Wilson already 1 frame away from progress. Up 24 points ahead in frame 6 with 22 on the table, but Dot's pursuit of a snooker has been so determined. And remember, on table 2, there's still another match to go on in this afternoon's session. Now, come on, Marco. Do yourself justice.
1.
Yeah, the cue ball's just gone on, isn't it? Is he having a dart at this? He certainly is, and it's not anywhere near, quite honestly. He kind of knew straight away.
Marco Fu 1.
Yes, there's an element of blocking the pocket on the shot.
There's not been a conclusion on table 2, but there has been movement. John Higgins potting the brown, so virtually certain to take on Rory Thor in the last 16 this evening.
Yeah, meanwhile, there's not been much change to Marco's game on this table. I mentioned before, it just occasionally gives off a body language that he's not quite at the races, you know. Especially here, all place at Cheltenham. But today he seems to be one of those days. He's not had a great deal on, but he's not really participating.
It is over. We can say Eureka. John Higgins has beaten Graham Dodd 4-2. That was drawn out in the extreme. Now he'll be trying to do what Mark Williams and Neil Robertson couldn't do and beat Malaysia's surprise package, Rory Thor.
That's a good shot. These pockets are not that big.
6.
As you're going to go into the reds, it's a little bit thin, this potting angle. He'll go into them without a huge amount of control. So he ends up with a red to right middle at worst. Yeah, I mean, look, I was on commentary with Dave Hendon on that match, which finished in the small hours with Rory Thor, but there was no fluke about that win, you know. He was the better player. At 3-1 down, it was an injustice in favour of Neil Robertson. The frames were closer. When you think he had already played a match earlier in the day that went all the way, you have to give the man from Malaysia credit. He thoroughly deserved the win against the informed Robertson. No fluke.
Well, the way these balls are spread, it's like one of those pre-match training exercises where you just have to loosen your arm.
19.
From here, 4-0 is looming large.
$20. $27. $28. $35. $36.
When a match has been one-sided, one of the most illuminating stats, total points. Look at this, 20 for Fu. And where the balls are, he might remain on 20. That might be his lot.
That was not a good shot. He actually potted the black into the side of the pocket rather than in the centre, so cue ball was ill-directed. Still got this red on, but it's a little tricky one.
44.
He's recovered the situation well, so the one-sided nature of this match continues.
51. $52.
Three world ranking titles in his career for Marco Fu. He won the World Amateur Championship in Zimbabwe in 1997.
60.
He's been to a Crucible semi-final, almost the final. Those glory days seem a million miles away from this.
67. $68.
It's a real shame because if you're watching him for the first time, you will get a completely misleading impression. Fu has been a cracking player. But in this match, Neil, it's been all one-way traffic.
It has, and Kyren Wilson has done exactly what is required. Played well enough. The odd mistake, that's all. You know, I'm not sure Marco is quite the same player, but I don't want to say that just because he's losing this match 4-0. I think he's like anyone else on a going day. He can still be dangerous, but he's been swamped today, and most of these matches are not very often as one-sided as this one. The points, as you saw, are very much in favour of Wilson. Hardly anything has been thrown back at him.
Now he'll be searching for what would be his 13th century of the season.
90.
If he makes it, he'll only be 6 behind the table topper, Judd Trump.
$95.
No century, but into the next round entirely unscathed. What domination from Kyren Wilson. He's sailing through this tournament so far for the loss of just a single frame. Marco Fu, I'm afraid, did not turn up.